Hello, Internet. Pure Tide here. And let me tell you, it is day 2 of making videos every day for a week. That was a mistake. Man. I felt rough. We don't even have any booze up here. I just have to raw dog reality with a little bit of caffeine. We had, so far, by the time of recording video number 2, I've broken my mask.
Huh?
The bird won't shut up. Yeah, we have a parrot. The bird won't shut up.
Huh?
The bulb for the set lighting blew. And every single backup bulb I had for that light also blew. So let's talk about newbies, because everybody starts as a newbie at some point. The thing I see the most interaction from with newbies is always, hey, rate my list. Tell me what you think of this list. Pick at it, what have you, however you want to phrase it. They've made some battle list they may not have all the parts for, they may never, and that's okay. But that's always the default interaction of, hey, I'm new to this, tell me what you think of this army plan. And it's kind of cute, but it's not practical. Now, it's important to encourage our newbies. Those of you that are watching that are new, I want to encourage you. Maybe not like this. Instead, because it's always important to give constructive criticism. Instead of, hey, rate my list, do something pointed, specific. How about, hey, this is my favorite unit in the army, the whatever item. What synergizes best with that unit? Or, hey, you've been playing this army for a while. What strategy do you have that you use that works well for you? Maybe we take an example. Personally, my favorite unit are going to be crisis suits. I'm a little old hat like that. Those riptides are always great, but they weren't the bee's knees when I came into the hobby. The riptide box dropped in 2013, and they were great when they dropped, but we didn't always have riptides. So, my favorite unit is the crisis suit, and by extension, the crisis suit bodyguard. And kind of the crisis suit commander, because it fits. And what meshes really well are commanders with crisis suits. In fact, bodyguards do it best. The single largest unit that can receive as many buffs as we can in the unit in our army are crisis suits. They start as a unit of 3, but if you commit a large amount of points to them, you can buff a large portion of your army with just a little bit. One commander that I may build as, this is an old term, but Kingfisher. Kingfisher was a model that you added to a unit of crisis suits back in the day that let it just buff. It sat there with a command and control node, which was a relic at the time, and a multi-spectrum sensor suite. And instead, today, you can use a commander with no guns on him, and a drone controller, and maybe a shield generator or something, to buff a unit of crisis suits with command and control node, and buff their drones for marker light support, or gun support, or maybe you take shield drones and you charge them into melee. And I know that sounds crazy, but drone controllers work with melee, so it works. And multi-spectrum sensor suite from that commander, it's not shooting anything. And there's so many things that those two can combine for. If you've got bodyguards and a commander out there, you can use their proximity to each other to let those bodyguards, assuming that they're, in melee, hit well, re-rolling their hits and their wounds. It works. Those two together really function. But to get to that second example of a strategy that I know, and this might not be popular, but personally, I love deep striking. It's thematic, it's fluffy, it's so much fun, but it doesn't work on the tabletop. Not in a shooty army, because every turn you spend not shooting is a turn you've wasted that firepower. There's no amount of +1 to hit, especially not in 9th edition where you're capped at +1 to hit, that will make it worth not having been on the table for 2 turns. And crisis suits fall victim to that, because that was their great thing, was they could deep strike. They could be anywhere on the table and really mess up your opponent's back line. And we don't have vehicle facing anymore. We don't have a lot of the things that used to affect that. So, for the most part, starting with them on the field, getting a turn to shoot, even if that turn isn't their full force, is going to be better than starting with them in reserves. Caveat, Flamer Crisis exists if you're not facing an enemy that you're expecting to charge you head on. If you're expecting to have to run across the board to them, and you have a unit of crisis suits with flamers, you're going to want them in reserves because they can get farther. And now that flamers are 12 inches, hey, you can actually hit them from reserves on turn 2. Just the same way as you might on turn 2 if you advanced with them, but you don't have that loss. And you see, it gets that ball rolling. Asking a pointed question, a specific, hey, what's your favorite thing, or what is your interest, what is something about the person that you want to know that they think about your army. And that will make our newbies able to learn faster, and our old hats, well, I'll enjoy talking about it. I'm sure a lot of other people will, and some people will think twice about a stratagem, or a strategy, or a whole new unit. I tell you, back in the day, well, back in 8th edition anyway, when you could pack 1,000,000 +1s onto those sniper drones, you could have drones hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. It wasn't points efficient, but it made me reconsider. The Firesight Marksman. And considering the Firesight Marksman, I found that he really meshed with the 8. Firesight Marksman was able to benefit from all the character protection that I naturally ran when running the 8, which were 8 characters for those of us who aren't familiar. And in 8th edition, character protection was just about being closer, not about this whole, you must also be with another unit, essentially. A unit or monstrous creature or vehicle. And that let me get a little bit of extra horsepower in with reliable marker lights. Because I would run Sakia, Sept, or Sakia, however you want to pronounce it, Firesight Marksman. They had in the Sakia Sept, a 78% chance of hitting. Which is pretty solid, honestly. It's hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1 shot. You're only shooting 1 shot, so you're probably going to hit. And it lets you stack up these things. And I may never have come to that conclusion if I hadn't thought about sniper drones. I remember having that thought for 7th edition, where, hey, let's try Firesight Marksman for marker lights, because they were hitting on 2s in 7th edition. And they came with their own drones, and the drones were accurate, and the marksmen were accurate, and it worked. But there was a lot that changed between those 2 editions. And this kind of, I admit, this is rambly, but that's how you make that progress. You make a newbie progress by pumping an old hat person, somebody that's been in the game for a while, for their feelings on a subject. My feelings are that I need more caffeine in my life. I hope the video's bright enough. Anyway, I should stop rambling. Roll the outro.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words,